Good everyone, and welcome to today's video, and today it's a Spade review on the ME-410 B-1 U-2. This is the second to last ME-410 that I have to Spade. Everything else I did before I started doing YouTube. So don't ask for reviews on those because you won't get them, you'll just get sub requests and things like that. So the B-1 U-2 is the final of the heavy fighter tree, as far as I'm aware, that the player can unlock. At least I believe so. No, the B6R3 is the final one, but I don't see this as much of an upgrade, personally. I mean, yeah, it's got 230 Mummy cannons, but I prefer having much more darker. So the B1U2 is a twin-engined heavy fighter designed to replace the aging BF-110. This thing could carry up to 1,000 kilograms of bombs in its bomb bay. It could also carry external rockets, which obviously this thing carries. The only reason why we can't access the bomb bay is because obviously the two extra 20mm cannons are mounted there. So once again, we are in a pure fighter, so to speak, ME-410. Whilst this thing is good on paper, it cannot compete against single-engine fighters very well. The only fighter I've beaten in a turn fight and a overall engagement was a Firecrest, and even then I had to work for it. Its tail turrets are two singular 13mm machine guns. Obviously, they are mounted here. They look like something out of Star Wars, personally, like just for the mechanism and all that. They turn pretty nicely, they depress nicely, and they are able to look down on the aircraft pretty dang well for ground attack purposes. As you get higher in the spading process, you can unlock rockets, which are mounted there. These are Wolf Granators. They're one of my favorite kinds of rockets. They are mounted slightly upwards, so you are going to have to take into account angling your aircraft so that way you can fire the rockets at either air targets or ground targets. Or do what I do and keep the rockets set at a fuse, so if you want to fire them at an aircraft, fire them at an aircraft, because I did get a VB-10 kill with this by doing that. Or keep them as normal, leave the fuse on, but just get within 600 meters so then you can fire the rockets without them detonating early and not damaging the ground target. They're very effective at cleaning up light vehicles if you don't want to use the guns, and let me tell you, these rockets are devastating against aircraft. Even a near miss with a fuse will cripple an aircraft. It completely decimated the VB-10 to the point where he had to crash land. It blew his right wing tip off and everything. It just did so much damage to say it was a near miss. Performance-wise, it's not too bad. Turn rate wise, it's not too bad. It could be certainly better, but overall the climb rate is pretty reasonable. The dive speed is pretty good, but not many people point this out about the ME-410. All of them have dive brakes. They are mounted just here, and they are very, very useful. I recommend people use them in a dive, or if you're going for a ground attacker on the deck. Because trust me, they will help you from pulling out of dives if your pull-out game isn't very strong. So, let's jump right in and let's have a look at what we did in the ME-410 Hornisse, which stands for Hornet, if anyone's interested, in German. I didn't do German as a GCSE, so yeah. But this was a pretty good Spade, obviously. I haven't got over my stats, but I'll do that in fact, I'll do the stats now, just so I don't forget, because obviously everyone knows I forget things, and I don't want to forget. So the B-1 U-2, I acquired just under a 3.5 kill death ratio, 93 ground targets, 22 landing craft. It's useful. Let's just say that it can be used as a fighter. However, I recommend people ground attack with this thing. So now we're going to jump straight to the action, and we're going to see what we got up to. Straight away, we've already lost a 190 who's decided to crash. No idea why, but yeah, whatever. Not my problem now. So at this point, I've actually spotted a aircraft on the deck. It is actually a Wyvern, who is, well, doing the Wyvern thing and ground attacking. What he doesn't realise is that I'm right on his ass. I've dropped the air brakes so that way we can stay on his tail. And there we go. Blown into pieces with 4 20mm cannon and 2 30mm machine gun. The cannons are not very effective when stock, but when you get them upgraded, well, you've just seen it there. It rips a plane to bits. I was getting a bit anxious here because I thought this guy here, this PC monster, was going to go for me. But for some reason he's brought HFARs on his Corsair, and he's ground attacking with it. Okay, we'll see where that gets you, mate. I decided to turn back as I realised, well, there's not much point me flying away when I can engage this Corsair with an altitude advantage. So I stick the nose up, and I begin climbing again. And immediately it was an F4U7 just by the player's flight style. And here comes Bugos in his BF-109K4 to come and teach him a lesson about you should climb in your Corsair. Takes him in a head-on, and there we go. Corsair is gone. I'm not going to get many kills in terms of air kills, but it's when the ground attack element comes into this aircraft is really where I think it shines. But at the moment we're just climbing away. I just had to take off an headphone then just to listen because I thought I heard something. That AD4 I think it was has just been dealt with by our teammate in that DOE 335. And it's just going to go from a pretty good game where we are currently in the, well, on the winning side. Didn't mean to misclick that pause button there. To worse, where my team actually cocks this up. So, it looks like the plane is flying weirdly and the crosshair is off. That was my show-off shot. I tried to show off and hit a tank whilst tilting the plane to the left-hand side. It didn't work. Don't try and be a show-off with the rockets. The rockets aren't really going to be used from this point on. They're going to be used once more once we engage a F4U Corsair. But this is what I think you should use this aircraft for, ground attack. It works really well at doing ground attack. Yeah, you can only kill a couple of heavy targets and then you have to kill soft targets. But the sheer amount of firepower just cleans them up. It just absolutely devastates these ground targets. If you want to know about belts, I'm running stealth in the 13mm, and I'm running air targets in the 20mm. Just in case anyone's curious about belts. And you can just see the 420s are just tearing up. Obviously I'm using the 13s there to clean that artillery up. I want to try and save some cannon ammo just in case. But I'm soon going to throw that out the window because we have about 20 odd ground targets over here to clean up. Now for some reason this 109 decides to attack a ground target first before dealing with a PV-4Y. But hey, K4 pilots, or G10 or whatever it was. It's a K4, just realised. You'll be quite surprised how many stupid players would do that. But the enemy team has been reduced to a PV-4Y, which you can see right there. 2 Corsairs, one of which is a F4U4B, one of which is an F4U4, and a Spitfire Mark 14C, which is the premium one. There's also a P-47, but he's not much use to his team alive, so didn't really count him in the aspect. There we go, another ground target thanks to Hans. And at the moment the DOE 335 pilot is being called a cunt because apparently he kill stole. No, The Doe 335 killed him because you couldn't, mate. He was in a K4 with a 30mm and he fired pretty much everything he had at the P4Y. Couldn't kill it, so the 335 did the job, and now he's mad about it. As I always say, if it's not critted or if it's not on fire, well, I'll say that. Well, I say that, but I've changed my policy recently. If it don't burn, you get a turn, so that's how I see it. But you can see this thing just cleans up ground targets. It's just so good at its job. But if it's not its actual job, IRL, this thing would be intercepting Lancasters, but we'll gloss over that. 13.2s, well, 13mm clean up the ground target there. Hans jumps, well, we jump on the Hans, and he takes out another one. And this is literally what I did for most of the game. Now, I see a lot of ME-410 pilots making a lot of mistakes, one of which is head-ons. You don't want to go for a head-on in this aircraft. It is very vulnerable to pilot snipes. Always has, and always will be. In the BF-110 you could do it, but not this. Not this. The pilot's just too vulnerable. But as you can see, these ground targets have just been absolutely mauled apart by these huge variety of guns. But we're coming up to the end of where my ground attack contribution is done for the game. I'm just cleaning up the last bits from the machine guns, and that is me actually out of ammunition. So now, we're heading back. But overall, this thing is a very handy ground attacker, that is for definite. I mean, it can't clean up a lot of soft, well, it can clean up a lot of soft stuff. But when it comes to heavy targets, you're going to struggle. Obviously the rockets can do it, but don't show off like I did, and then that won't happen. Now, we are now down to just 3 enemy fighters. Obviously the P-47, who spent most of his game in space, and decides to come and have a crack at me for some reason. Don't know why, he really wasn't up his team doing that. And we have an F4U4B who's going to die soon. And the F4U4 that I mentioned earlier. There's the 4B. He is going to take a Doe 217, who stupidly decided to go on ahead without fighter escort, and he's going to pay the massive price of that. I'm thinking at this point, well, my team's probably going to die, so bit of a replay bug. It's not showing my landing gear going down all the way. And that is the Doe gone. The Doe is completely destroyed. And well, I've got to park it in style of some sort then to to drift to a stop. The landing gear broke, but that's no big deal. But obviously the 217 has just died, and we only have 2 Doe 335 B2 premiums remaining on the team. And there you can see, Guao is currently dealing with the F4U4, or the B variant, that is. For some reason it's shown his bomb bay doors open, his bomb bay doors are not open, just to point out. And obviously we also have Old G, who is coming into, I think he's chasing a P-47. Not really sure what it was doing this whole game. And I just noticed a fly emblem. But at this point I'm thinking, well, what can I do? Like, what is there for me to do? Because all my team are high. I'm obviously sat on the airfield. And obviously the P-47's just popped up. So what can I do? The answer is not a lot. And well, my two Dove 335 teammates are going to work really well. They're going to push them down pretty dang hard. And they're also going to spank the P-47 in just a second. Once that P-47 is dead though, we are going to we're going to take off again and hopefully deal with the final enemy fighter, which is the F4U4. I think the 4B got shot down or crippled and you couldn't get back to base. The Dove 335s give pursuit and absolutely rip the P-47 to bits. However, at this point, our two Dove 335s need ammo. And I decide, well, I'm not going alone. And I decide to fly Combat Air Patrol, also known as CAP. Flying CAP for your teammates sometimes can make the difference between them getting strafed and you getting, well, and you ending your life for something good. And I'd rather risk my plane than risk going out alone, see that it does absolutely nothing for my team, and watch as the two 335s are strafed and it's just me and a 410 against a F4U4. You can sort of see my mentality about that. I just had to think, and I thought this was the best option. Fly cap, protect the two 335s as they come into land and obviously all that, and just see what we can do to win. Didn't mean to press that. Do apologise. But at the moment, I am actually going to spot the F4U4. And the F4U4 is coming back. I let the team know where he is. The Corsair sticks his nose up as soon as he realises that I'm coming in to climb. Obviously, he might think I'm a 335. I let the team know 3 o'clock, right wing, and I'm communicating. The team didn't communicate much, but we did communicate to the point where it mattered. But at the moment, I am actually going to do a stupid move, which I thought was going to get me killed during the time, but I thought I'd try it. Corsair's obviously coming in, and I'm thinking, right, if he's daft enough, I might be able to spike him, but he does the right thing. He pulls it vertical, and me being a muppet, I go for it. I fire the rockets, but I knew I was going to stall any second now, and the Corsair was going to stall as well. The Corsair effortlessly loops over, and he's now diving on my ass. Obviously, I'm dragging him as hard as I can down. I deploy the air brakes, and I kick the rudder left, and I pull a snap turn. There's no way the Corsair can follow that maneuver. That's one of the few defensive moves you can do in a 410. And honestly, it's one of the best defensive moves that the 410 can do. So if you know if the 410 pilot does that and you engaged him, you know he's good. And well, I think that caught that Corsair completely unawares. Yuho Guao has now engaged the Corsair, but for some reason the Corsair has got a bone to pick with my 410. He's coming in. The 335 for some reason doesn't turn to engage. Old G is turning to engage, and it's just me and the Corsair in a heads-up situation. I shouldn't have done this, but I get away with it. He clips me, he turns away, I go in for a bit more aggressiveness, and down he goes. And that is the end of the game. So not a bad game for the 410 B-1 U-2. Obviously, it is not the best plane at its BR. I preferred it as a ground attacker when the team cleaned up a couple of ground targets, but as soon as I got the rockets, I felt a bit more confident, especially when I got the belts done. I just felt a bit more confident, and I was right to be. Taking that Corsair in the head-on was a bit of a risk, but I did it, and we won the game because of it. I could have lost my plane, but I'd have been more than happy to trade my 410 for a Corsair. This match got me well, almost spaded, and I spaded it about 3 or 4 games later. Because, well, German teams are even bad now. But anyway, I'll see you all on the next one. Hope you enjoyed. And if I was to suggest getting this aircraft, I would, but it's not the best. Just bear that in mind. See you all next one.